This is the Myla Sweet Podcast, where you'll learn to get unstuck. Start now. Conquer life's challenges by learning to do difficult. Find quick and clever ways to overcome. Wait, did you think life was going to be easy? Remember, all of your excuses are now dead to me. Let's get started. Guess what time it is? It's time for you to hit the subscribe button and find just 1% that you think will benefit from this. But if you're feeling a little like generous, right? Or you're super free with your time right now, probably doing nothing because you're listening to this. Well, maybe if you're doing something, actually just make yourself free right now. Hit subscribe. What are you waiting for? Hit it. Come on. Hit subscribe.
I feel like I'm learning so much that this is like your podcast, not mine. This is amazing. Okay, like I will definitely listen. I don't know if it's vain or not to listen to your own podcast, but I think I'm gonna listen to this again and take notes. Okay, my brain, I have Atomic Habits on my to read list. Like it's actually for this week, right? That's when I get the book. I just kind of want to preview like what stuck out to you. Like I don't know what did you learn from that? Because I'm kind of interested in it
one
now.
of the biggest things, I think that was a good reminder to me, it was around like when we create these goals or like habits that we want, it's about who we want to be, not what we want to do. So for instance, it would be like, I want to be a healthy person. And that's a far more convicting goal than I want to be like skinny or I don't know, whatever like the goal would be. It's like, if you make it about the type of person you want to be. So for instance, I want to be a morning person. I struggle with it so badly. I crank into like my zone later in the day always. But something that is, I want to be productive. Like I want to be somebody that like seizes the day. So that's more compelling to me than like, I want to wake up at 6 a.m. every day or whatever it is. It's the fact that I want to be productive and like make the most of my time. So that was like the one thing around being clear, like it's who you want to be, not what you want to achieve necessarily. Because I think some goals can be fleeting versus like if they're grounded more in your values, they weigh a little bit more for you.
Wow, I just kind of had a podcast. I'm going to totally put my friend out on the spot yesterday. And she was like, I don't believe in those kind of goals or absolutes because I said my conviction to read is more of a value, not really a task. Because I wouldn't read if it's just on my list to read today. I believe that I want to make a difference in my kid's life. And the best way for me to make a difference is to be a learner. And that allows me to create wealth, that allows me to create success for them, whether it's public or private, the ability to learn. So I make it a daily habit. It doesn't really matter. Like, just like how you said, no matter what, you're trying to get your workout or move in, whether it's 9:30 or 9 a.m. or 5 p.m., whatever, you're figuring out a way. It's kind of like a juggling act. You're always using your brain to find a sliver of time to use it for that. So it doesn't matter what my day looks like. I'm trying to figure out how to read, how to squeeze in reading, how to be educated, how to learn, how to reflect, how to apply. And it's just part of, it's deep, deep, deep down inside. So it's a deep connection. Now, you did mention something that I thought was interesting, was like who do you want to become? How do you decide that?
I think that, well, one, it's kind of funny. We have to slow down to really take the time to do inventory of what our values and our core values are and like where we align and where we don't. So I think that's where we find a lot of friction or, I don't know, when you're just not like sitting, you had a podcast that I love so much around like your truth. And I think when you're not aligned to that, you can kind of sense that. So being really clear on like what your truth is or what your core values are, and then setting those, like identifying those. So I think it's crazy how many people, I mean, I used to be like this too. I've never would sit down and like actually like write a list of things that are most important to me. And when you talked about like for you, it was to be a learner. Like I love reading and podcasts now, but it's because I realized I wanted to be educated. Like I wanted to always be learning and growing. So whether that's like spending time on Duolingo or reading now. I used to not be a reader at all, and I'm so fascinated by the fact that we can read something that could shift the way that we think, that could affect us forever, honestly, which is kind of crazy to think that we have these tools at our fingertips, and how many people don't tap into them. But I think, like you said, being able to identify some core values for you are really going to kind of carry you through. And also when you kind of lose track of your ways, it gives you like a guiding light to come back and be like, okay, these are like the things that are most important to me. Like, am I still like aligned with those things? Because I've gone through funks too, where I'm like, reading is really hard. And then I'm like, it's really important for me to continue to grow mentally, emotionally, physically, like however it is, that it's really important for me not to get stagnant, because I just think we all have our best selves. And I just never want to get complacent with that and not value the time I've been given or the gifts I've been given, and to foster those things, and to, I don't know, you reap what you sow. And I would feel like it'd be such a shame. We have all these skills and talents, but if we never tap into them or develop them and grow them, you never know what you were given those things to share or spread if you don't invest in them yourself.
I honestly, my heart is changing like right now from you talking. I don't know. It's like weird when you hear people say things, even if you know them, but when they say them and they believe them, just going back to authenticity, like it really does change you. And I feel like the best way for people to change is first to value like learning. You don't have to learn from me or someone else, but just value it. Like it's the one thing that allows you to grow and change at a huge, like a huge rate that you won't even believe. Like I've read over 100 and something books last year, but I will tell you, if I didn't read those books, I wouldn't think, hey, COVID's happening. Let me podcast, let me YouTube, let me create a course, let me do this. It's just something that it can rewire what you think is possible and change the context of what you think. And sure, it's like scary, but it's also like, I think I have something to say and I believe enough in these gifts and that ability. So I want to end it on this last question is, how does one, like, okay, so you decide what is important to you, but how do you like get the guts to actually stand on that? Because I feel like that can be really scary for
Totally
people.
can be. Something, I mean, I also struggle with that. And I'm sure you read the Brene Brown Daring Greatly book that I love so much.
I can't finish it. I keep starting it, but it's really hard for me to finish. Everyone keeps saying that. I'm
love
sorry.
That book. But I feel like fear is something I'm learning daily to embrace. And I think anytime I feel fear, even getting curious to ask, like, well, why is this like causing me to feel like this? And if it's because of growth is at risk, I think like the bigger risk is always not to grow. So I don't know, with fear, yeah, I fear not growing more than I fear like failure or embarrassment or whatever the thing is that you're fearing. I think you just get to a point where not doing what's true to you is scarier. And I also think it's a muscle. Like I think my greatest desire would be like get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I don't know. I think you're never going to get to be where you're supposed to if you're always sitting around in your comfort zone, which is like why the importance of having a strong community around you, people that are going to help hold you accountable, because that's the direction you want to go. So I think setting yourself up, it's also intertwined, right? Like learning more about your fears. But I just think being brave and courageous is a muscle. And I think you can either learn to not use it and then live, or you can learn to embrace it and just like let the wonder of what today brings kind of show up. But you have to show up. I love that. Show up for life and life will show up for you.
I think that is something to live by. I'm like, look, you can see a problem or you can see an opportunity. And right now, there are a lot of problems out there, but we can take the time and we can figure out what do we value and how can we use our gifts, our skills, like the people we love to show those values, to exhibit those skills, exhibit those gifts and take time to grow. Like, I think learning from other people, like the premise of this is to just help us to have perspective. There is so much information bombarded at us that just having conversation about what we're thinking about, what we're challenged with, provides a lot of transparency or a good reflection for what other people may be thinking, to give them the freedom to say, hey, I want to tackle this fear. I want to overcome this. I want to seize the day. So on that note, my friend, we're going to end.
Thank
Any
you
last
so much
words?
for having me on here. I love this talk so much, and it was a joy to be here.
All right, I'm going to have you back on once I read Atomic Habits, not bombs. And once I finish Daring Greatly. It's still on my list. It's ridiculous. It's been 1 year.
You know
one
what?
whole
I think
year.
I'm gonna
So we'll
actually
figure that
read
out.
that book coming up. I think it's a good reminder. So we'll probably be finishing it around the same time.
Okay, perfect.
Of
And we can
course,
talk more about
thank
it. All right.
you.
Thanks, Sam.
Bye.
All right.
All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening too. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like, for real. No, for real, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.